So guys, hello. Thank you very much for your time. I promise you, I'm sorry we're late. It is completely Mimecast's fault. We'll take that. There's a couple of things. It was miscommunication this morning. I've been traveling non-stop for the last 3 months, so unfortunately I don't even know what my son looks like at this stage. I feel like I'm in the army. But Alvina and the rest of the IT team thought it quite valuable for me to come through and give you some insights into what we're going to be launching at CPT, and with your help obviously make it a huge success. And I'll share some stories across the way. It's not a death by PowerPoint, it's a couple of slides and a couple of stories from me. I hope I tell these well. But essentially this is the theme of the day, right? So it's the need for awareness training, governance controls, security protocols and other frameworks in the connected world of individuals and business in both public and private sectors. Can you imagine something more boring than me delivering something on that kind of topic? Alright, so it's not anything like that, right? One of the best things about this program that we've recently acquired is that I think we do an exceptional job at removing noise. It's the need for awareness training, and everyone needs it, right? I'll give you some of my personal opinions. By the way, I'm Dwayne Nicol. I've been at Mimecast for 6 years. I've worked in various different, I've worked in channel, I've worked in our commercial department, and now specifically I've become what they say is a specialist around awareness, and it's become, I must say, a really important part of my life around how people react with information and what they do and how this has changed their world. I mean, on Monday morning I was going from the Gautrain Sandton station to our Joburg office, and I got a call from one of our first initial customers on this training platform, and the guy said to me, "Dwayne, I've just stopped at an orange robot." I thought, well, you're a South African, why the hell would you do that? And it was quite interesting, and he said, let me explain it to you. The program that we run is completely subconscious, and we try and get learning abilities through to our users using various ways of subconscious training. And that sounds almost as boring as what my first slide looked like, but it genuinely works, right? We've had heated discussions. To my wife, a heated discussion is an argument, so I'll lay that one to rest. But essentially what we see is a lot of customers have taken the opportunity to do awareness training with their users, and they come back to me and they say, "Dwayne, 8 to 10% of our users engaged with the content. We've got no ways to see who learned anything. We've got no ways to see what tangibly these people actually got from the training." And the reason is simple, and I'll ask, and if anyone's daring enough to answer, when you got this morning session invite and it said, I'm sure there was a word that said launch or training, what did you immediately get to? You thought, if I may, you thought boring, right? Training is boring, training is useless, I don't need it, I'm quite smart. You don't have to all say yes. I mean, you knew it was me presenting, so thank you very much for not thinking that immediately. But I've been in these scenarios and I've done this presentation a number of times where guys would put up their hands and say, "Dwayne, you're dead right." When people say training, I immediately go, oh my gosh, another boring thing I have to consider. And we do need awareness training. And when I was at Mimecast before this role, Mark O'Hare, who's our CISO, would send out things around corruption, anti-bribery. We're a listed business. Loose lips sink ships. We can't be sharing information that's going out to the greater populace of the world in a non-controlled way. And what would Dwayne do? Well, I would delete these emails. I don't care. I'm busy with the sales target. I've got deadlines. I've got other things to consider myself with. How long's the line at the loo? How am I going to pick up my kid from school after work? Our priorities are obviously taking preference, but it's putting the big priority of our businesses and our cultures at work down, which is security. And in this world today, I mean, hands up if you've been affected by a phishing attack or any kind of attack where someone's taken something from you forcibly. Okay, just me again, thank you. So I was a victim 5 years ago selling an Xbox on Gumtree. The guy phoned me, made a payment, and immediately came to my workplace. I worked at a previous security company. The guy came there and said to me, "Hey, I'm here to pick up your Xbox." And I was like, "Cool, I've got the SMS, here you go." And I said to the guy, even like, if you need any other things, just let me know, I'll sell you some games or whatever. And the guy drove away. One critical element I forgot to consider, I never gave the guy my bank details. So how did he take advantage of me in that short space of time? And that was right in the beginning. For my thesis in varsity, my theme was how to unlock humans. Do you guys have any idea how easy it is to unlock a human being to do something you want to get from them? Let me give you a picture. My wife's in graphic design. She printed a poster that was probably half the size of this wall. Cost me 113 Rand from Post-it in those days. It's a lot more expensive today. And I built 4 of them and I put them up in the Metro Rail station in Cape Town from 4 a.m. in the morning to 9 a.m. in the morning. I had a couple of cheap pieces of tech. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what a pineapple is. It's a logging device that stores information using 2 burner phones. I say burner phones because it makes me sound like a spy. And with that, I basically released the biggest attack that I know of in the history of the Metro Rail, and I got 1,340 logins to people's banking accounts just in one morning. You know, if I was a black hat, those people would be empty today because I just steal all their money. It was only about a week later that the Hawks contacted me and said, right, you're under arrest for fraud. And I said, oh, this is awkward. My mom was very disappointed. But it actually turned into something good because they actually asked me to do a lot of consulting with them and saying, well, how did you do that? And it was simple, guys. Cost me $418 of posters, and it cost me 180 Rand for a pineapple and 2 phones, which at Pick and Pay yesterday I saw cost 120 Rand nowadays. Cell phone costs 120 bucks. It's insane. So for less than $1,000, I would have emptied out 1,300 people's bank accounts. That was one morning. Imagine I did that for a span of a month. I'd be a billionaire, and I probably wouldn't be here this morning giving you this speech. So guys, it comes to the very real fact that unfortunately we live in a world where people are constantly, whether you are an office manager or a CISO at a bank, you will be targeted at some point for someone to unlock your information and steal something from you. If it's information, you're probably part of a bigger attack. If it's a direct link to a payment, you probably are the attack. And this is what we've seen in the market through our threat intelligence. But scarily, South Africa sits at number 2 on the global list, and this is from a culmination of reports from Ernst & Young and Gartner, that we are almost 50% certain that one of our companies, whether it be public or private, will be attacked by a massive data breach within the next 2 years. The actual verbiage that we will face a major data breach. What's a major data breach? It's more than 1 million records. So the guys in IT, Leon, Alvina, are working tirelessly at protecting you guys, and you'll be surprised. In my presentation, I'll give you this information. These guys don't sleep at night because they're actually protecting their businesses, the CPUT greater area, but they're also trying to protect your information, because personally your information is virtually one of the biggest commodities that people are after today. It's not click here and I'll bring down your network, it's click here and I want to steal something from you. The second thing you can read on your own, that's last year, that's probably tripled this year. We're seeing more and more events happening where massive campaigns are going out, and they're more specified to profiles of people. So they will know that a Cape Townian who surfs, who does X, Y, and Z on a Sunday morning is a prime target to attack in Cape Town, and they will go after those guys in a very big attack. They'll then profile that out to the international geographies, and then use the same attack with very little localized content change, which means that these things can be redistributed, recycled, and we all know reduce, reuse, recycle. It's the exact same mantra our hackers are taking, so kudos to them. I'm just kidding, I hate them. The last thing is an interesting one, because it forms part of my presentation tomorrow at the ICC. In America, which is a first world country, very focused on security, in one US state they ran a test on the guy's passwords for highly classified information. So I'm talking about actual logins to things like the NSA, databases and stuff like that. They found only 1,500 in one single state in one government department who were using password 123 as their primary password for this access. Yeah, that's crazy. You know, this whole product that you guys are going to be accustomed to over the coming years, or coming months, or years, or centuries, was built in the Pentagon. It was built by a guy named Michael Madden, who built this when he was delivering a speech on security to the next round of spies for the CIA. Unbelievably cool stuff. Except everyone was on their phones, listening to music, and at that point his penny dropped and he said, well, hang on, I'm delivering training to spies who are focused on national security and they don't care. How in the hell can I be sure that users at a company in the corporate world are caring? And so this was stemmed. Now this guy over here is my favorite. I call him Ed the Banana Eater. He's the guy that the hackers are focused on. It's the 99% of our businesses that on a Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, where those hacks are coming in, those phishing attacks are coming in, that these people are targeting. And why is that? Because on Monday morning at 8 o'clock, we all switched on. It's the first day of work. I've got to get through my priority list as quickly as possible. I want this week over with. I want to get to do this and this and this. On Friday afternoons, our guard is completely down. And you can look at any of the studies local today if you want to do some self-search afterwards. People do know this, and they most certainly hit you at the times you're most vulnerable. So what does CPUT's wonderful IT team do today? Well, in terms of, well, no, it's not CPUT, I'll get to the CPUT slide, but what IT in general does today, and I do a demonstration of the service, and I've done it 300 times, and I get the same responses from every single customer. So you guys are not alone, the other companies in South Africa are not alone, Middle East is not alone. But in general, IT takes on the approach that, oh my goodness, there's been a massive data breach, we better do reactive training so that people know what the threat was and what the consequence was. I don't know if anyone sees it, it was all in the media. British Airways just got the first GDPR fine. It was like £183 million or whatever.
Marriott, yeah.
And Marriott. Guys, that is a statement to the market, okay? You do not want to be the guy that inadvertently leaked that data because you probably are in a huge amount of trouble, okay? The problem is that people focus on cybersecurity, and that's not the number one focus in the world today, okay? Everyone goes, phishing is the number one problem we need to consider ourselves with. And it's not even the number 3 vector on the threat register for a global scan that they just did on security risk registrations. The biggest threat we face today is inadvertent data leaks. Sharing something with someone that's personal or professional information in a public space. We've seen just yesterday, someone owned their Instagram page for their company and shared an image of them for the company, which immediately then linked to their Facebook page. That puts a whole new personal life in it, and they had to cancel the deal. We've seen, and we've been involved in this, we were about to close a big deal with a big customer like a bank, and I go to the gym with a colleague of mine and a partner's in the background going, geez, they're about to close that big business, I better jump in. And from a competitions board perspective, these are no-nos. These are things that the company that you're about to do business with does not want the market to know, because these are competitive edges that people work towards, okay? The second thing is compliance. Who here is taking compliance training? Wouldn't matter anyway, most of us have fallen asleep through it in most cases. So at Mimecast, because we listed, we take lots of compliance. I don't do any of them, okay? I do it because I don't do it because I want to make a stand to our business. That the content you are giving me as an individual is completely not engaging. It's PowerPoints and guys speaking, and it's that first slide with that completely irrelevant theme that no one knows anyone. Who knows anything about governance controls here unless you work in governance? Nobody. And nobody. I assume you guys work in governance. So, you know, no one, it's not that no one cares, it's just that the concepts that we try and deliver to these people, to us as individuals, they don't speak to me. I don't know anything about this stuff. Why must I care? And so we start training people where we want them to be from day one rather than where they are, and that's the problem. The third thing is security workshops, i.e. one of these. And I've declined meetings from customers where they go, Dwayne, you want to run a security workshop, will you come and keynote? And I go, no, I won't. We did one at a mine, and this is why. We did one at a mine for 1,300 people across 2 sessions. That's 650 people a session in these huge auditoriums. And I go up and the guy goes, geez, Dwayne, I think we delivered that message perfectly. And I was told the agenda was cyber security, connected laptops and how they must be careful. And I said, sorry, but Johan, who is the asset? Who are the people in the meeting? Oh no, those were miners. I said, but do they have laptops? He said, no. I said, well, why the hell am I giving them cyber training? For those people, we should be giving them SMS-based USSD code training. Understand how they're targeting the LSMs in those areas. I mean, we know that miners will be attacked constantly because they need, I mean, these guys are working their fingers to the bone for the cash for their families, and the people take advantage of them. And it's a horrible thing. I've never been a black hat, but I've been a white hat, thankfully, until $1 million and payday comes my way, I'll be a white hat for the rest of the time. But I've seen colleagues of mine in varsity turn into black hats because it is so deathly simple to steal money. Guys, you have no idea, okay? Like, I cannot explain to you. I could take advantage of my mom tomorrow. I could take advantage of my grand tomorrow, because these are people who didn't grow up with technology. We're lucky. We grew up with a little bit of technology, but what's training us in being safe around technology? And that's the problem. Technology is the biggest asset to any organization, but it is also the biggest risk to any organization. I was chatting to a guy in the UK the other day, and he delivered this training. There's no implants you put under your arms, and based on your vitals, it will share information to the NHS and send emergency services immediately if it's detecting that you're about to have a heart attack or a stroke or whatever. That's amazing. The very next guy, okay, this tech was in beta. It wasn't even launched. It was on a server somewhere in Russia, and it was highly secure in this place. The very next guy was an ex-black hat hacker, and you know what he did? He logged in to this application from a remote access point on his laptop, gained control, and then said, you know what I'm going to do? When that guy, Johan or John or whatever his name is, needs emergency services, if he's a political figure, I'm going to move the emergency services away from his location. I'm going to let him die for personal gain to a different state who has an interest in that country's survival. I need these implants, guys. He did that on a remote connection in a presentation 20 minutes after this guy started speaking. Now, if you don't think that people are looking at you and looking at us as South Africa, and tomorrow's thing is critically around our government systems, We're moving on to e-services. We're moving on to e-government, which is amazing for us as consumers. But it is petrifying for me as a security individual, because it's easier to access cloud than it ever was, because I've been in security and data security and management for almost 15 years, and I love it. And we eventually default to technology because it's easy, but technology is boring. No one cares about technology except the guys who manage these controls. And invariably, every single time I get the same question, guys: how do we protect our users? Because they are the ones that are bringing us down. And I have a very, very, very controversial view on that. So I'll say to a CISO from Nedbank, no, you're wrong. Users are your assets, not your risk. If they are not secure in the way in which they are accessing information, that's not their fault. That is your fault. Because those guys are not getting the information enough to understand what the risk is for that specific action. What's the consequence if I do this? And it goes back to my guy who called me with the orange robot. He told me that I thought about, what if someone skips that robot, which never happens with any taxis in South Africa? What happens if someone, before their robot's gone green, has ridden out? What happens if my child's in the car? And in a split-second decision, he made all the right calls to stop at the orange robot, and guess what happens? Someone drives through too early, and he would have been involved in an accident. And all that came together, and he said, I've got to phone Dwayne, because it was the stuff we are doing in terms of security awareness that are making me think about these consequences.
Dwayne, sorry, before you move, just I don't know if you take questions.
I would love to. That's the whole point of this exercise.
Okay, you say users and assets are not risk. But if I go back to the slide where the guy is holding a banana,
yeah,
and it's Friday afternoon,
yeah,
who's the risk there?
So I think let me. That's a great question. So ambiguity is my speciality. Ask my wife. So I think it's not a case of that they're only assets or they are only risks. Okay, I think at specified times they are both. You know, if we've got loads of customers on this platform, and what a lot of the customers, we go back to our customers who say, like, what have you seen? How's it been working? What have you been engaging with? And the guy said, Dwayne, what we're saying is, previously with the way in which we did these reactive programs, you know, we'd get 5% of the people saying, oh, great little avatar you made, I really learned and I really like that. The problem is that people don't engage constantly. So 5%, if we can make that company's base of users 20%, 30% of guys that are now turning from lower risk, higher risk individuals to more asset-based folk. Imagine how that changes a company's risk outlook. Imagine how less your blocks are going to be. And that's the kind of message I like to deliver. It's like, it's not that the only assets are only risks. I've run phishing attacks on businesses that are listed, and I get 100% click rates, like CEOs, everyone, because it's easy. You tell everyone they're getting retrenched, they must click here to view their compensation package. Everyone's going to click on that. But if you run another one that says Prince Wishy Wishy from Nigeria just wants to give you $40 billion, all you have to do is pay $7 grand. No one's going to click on that link because everyone knows that's absolutely nonsense. So the definition of success between how we look at the users, my message here is that you don't know if the assets are risks today. And the problem is there's no reports today that will give you that outlook. And I'll get into the content. I think you're going to love that little slide. And I can share what we're doing here. I mean, I think it's amazing. Yeah. So what do you want from IT today traditionally? And again, this is built from 300 to 500 times of me doing this. People want better IT stuff, right? They want better, faster internet, better phone lines, better access, access to BI, to do their jobs better. They want no blocking of Facebook during lunch, and there's been loads of studies that say people who do block Facebook during lunch have worse attitudes for their businesses. They want ease of access. When I'm at home and I want to access the VPN, it must be easy. Is anyone accessing the VPN from home? Is it easy? The answer is no, never. I've never gotten access to multi-factor authentication. And lastly, you want good working tools, right? You don't want to use things from 2001, you want to use things from 2021, you know? So these are what we want. And do you think IT delivers on this today? It's subjective, right? Because I love behavioral psychology, because I just went through a thing of feedback. I'm the happiest folk at the office, right? I think so. And I had one day where, you know, like, if has anyone got kids here, especially younger than 1, they do not sleep, okay? Now imagine getting up in Joburg at 1:45 in the morning from a delayed Mango flight. You get home and your wife goes, I'm tired, yeah? And you go, okay, little Harvey, luckily I didn't have a 6 o'clock start in the morning. Then you kind of fall asleep and you get to the office and you're just grumpy, right? You're tired. Fatigue is a proper grumpiness maker. Now, for that day, you'll be marked. If someone asks, what is Dwayne negative at? Oh, he had a bad day yesterday. People remember that. But for the 99 other days, I've been a happy guy. But people need to have a reference point. So the problem is that you remember the one time IT didn't deliver that network cable, or that time that your phone went down and IT became the most famous people in the world. At Mimecast, we got the saying, things are wrong, our email's down. Can you raise a ticket and email? Well, how the hell must I do that if email's down? So these are also subjective views. But, like I've said to Alvina and Leon in our last engagement, I think IT and people are the collaboration tool that we've been missing out on for the last couple of years, right? You know, IT wants you to be alert. They want you, if you see something, to say something. I think a lot of times we do see something and it's either, it's probably nothing, I could just let it go. They want to say, ask when unsure. IT is not going to smack you with a stick if you walk in and say, do you think this email is safe or not? That's not what they're about. But they are the professionals who probably most can give you the right answer. And we don't cross-check our checks. We don't cross-check our decisions with IT. I had a huge heated discussion with a customer in Palabora the other day because 100 of their users on the floor were arguing about one of the questions on our platforms. They thought A was right and we said C was right. And they were like, and they're constantly arguing, and this guy says A because of this, and this guy says C because of that. And I'm like, great, that's a good thing. And she's like, how can you say that? They're all asking IT for the answers. Sorry, say that again? They're all cross-checking their decisions with IT.
That's what.
And, Dwayne, I'll get back to you. It's not about the right or wrong answers. It's about us collaborating with IT. IT is not here to block your Facebook, I promise you that. If you ask, one of our customers that we've got these surveys, and one of the main points is, I know what IT is doing to keep my organization safe. And they scored a 0. And the guy goes, but they don't even know, they don't care. And I said to the guy, but it's not an opportunity for you to just tell them. They don't care what network switches and firewall brands you're using, absolutely. But have you ever sat them down in a very brief like this and said, guys, for your email, we do this, this, and this. Maybe people do want to learn technology. Have we asked them? I don't think we have. Have you ever been asked, would you like to learn more in IT and what we do? I don't think so. I don't think a lot of people do. Because they're so siloed and they're like dentists. No one likes going into the IT office. And first of all, because it's always in the corner of the building, and second of all, because Alvina's standing with a stick waiting to beat you to death if you ask a stupid question. So we need you guys and users and employees and people to become IT's partners and assets. Because if they can't rely on you, then you, by definition, shouldn't be relying on them to do the whole job themselves. So, just before I finish, again, people don't engage, and guys, I run our security awareness business at Mimecast. I run the whole business, and I'm still not engaged or paying attention to Mark O'Hare's compliance training, okay? So by right, I can assume that people who are just regular people, just average Joes, guys who have a job and a priority list, do not pay attention to the way in which we deliver training today. It needs to change, right? The second thing, and this is one of my fundamental learning problems, I call this the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire syndrome. Does everyone knows the show? Everyone knows Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. The first question, who wants to be a millionaire, is the most absolute useless thing in the world. Because all it's doing is getting the comfort, and I've read the psychology behind why they do this. It's to get the contestant in a safe area, to get him confident and calm. So they ask a really dumb question with a really blatantly, obviously correct answer. And the reason for that is specific. It's to get the flow of the show right. Remember, it is a TV show and it's got to drive the right reality tones, right? The problem is that what's the question? What color is the sky? Now, yes, to the subjective people out there in the audience, please don't say, I think it's pink, because we're going to have an argument, because my wife tells me opinion becomes fact and it becomes a nightmare. The problem with this is that if the answer, what's the obvious answer? It's blue, right? So they'll go, what color is the sky? Blue, pink, red, or yellow? And it's like, well, okay, it's blue, haha, it's all funny, and that gets the contestant calmed in. But that's how we test recently, because we want to release a bit of endorphins. But what do you learn there? You learn nothing. You learn to identify that just asking questions is stupid, and I must just be given the right answer. You know, and that's a problem, because if you can read any knowledge transfer study. I don't know how the saying goes, but I'm sure you'll know what I'm talking about. The fish thing, if you teach a man to fish, he eats forever. I don't know. You all know the saying. But we focus on the one that's the better side. I'll put it that way because I don't know. Does anyone know how that saying goes?
If you give him a fish, he will eat for one day. If you teach him how to fish, he will eat for one day.
Thank God, I know how to say it. I'm going to give you some kudos after that. And that's the age-old thing. Applied knowledge is so much better than knowledge me. Dwayne is literally standing above you, telling you stuff, and now you expect it to walk out there and just remember it. It's a consistent thing. You need to be continuously reminded about how this stuff works and how it integrates into your social aspect. We're not just training you about CPUT's network here. We're training you in a multitude of things. We're training you about access and desk policies. Just yesterday, I'm at the airport flying back from Joburg. Last night, I promise you. Guy walks in a Armani suit, like a really nice Armani suit. He puts down a leather Prada bag. Now, what do I immediately trigger? I'm an ex-hacker. I know exactly what I see here. I see opportunity. It's a clearly affluent guy with a leather Prada bag. What do you think's in there? Probably a MacBook Pro. Probably some other items of value. Guess what? In the airport, right at the airport, I put it down. 20 minutes later, I comes back and he's standing there going, where did I put my laptop? And I said, oh, did you lose your laptop? Some guy just walked in and grabbed it. Oh my goodness. And I'm like, yeah, that guy was me. And I give him back his laptop and he goes, why'd you do that? I'm like, because how can you just leave this alone? Why do you just trust everyone in the airport lounge? Because he didn't know. He didn't know that he couldn't. Does anyone know that what the next vector of attacking assets is? People are stealing, they're getting falsified air tickets, getting through security, falsifying your black credit card to get into the F&B lounge, waiting for unattended assets, and then just grabbing them. There's been 11 reported cases in South Africa so far, and it's in the last 6 months. 3 in KZN, 2 in Joburg, and 6 in Cape Town. Exactly that. Jesus. Oaks are smart, eh? Yes, they are. But they're not actually smart. They're taking advantage when we don't know risk exists. That's the problem. They're looking for those gaps where people haven't been trained before, and that's where they're marketing themselves to get quick access and quick results. And then obviously this is obviously false. No one has a dismissive attitude towards security, right? Everyone loves it. They love it. So let's get you engaged. And this is the point of my presentation usually where I get down on one knee, but it's not that funny, so I don't do it anymore. But engagement is probably the #1 factor. Thank you for laughing. I'm here for Thursday. But engagement is something that's been missing in all training, right? Hands up, did you think, was this a boring presentation? And be honest, if you think it's boring, I'll make it better. But was this a boring, is this what you thought the presentation was going to be about? I haven't tried to teach you anything, I'm giving you guys perspective. There's lots of things we're not aware of. And really, guys, it is up to us to continue to self-evaluate and self-learn these things. We've got a customer of about 2,000 users who tests 30 days before a module of ours goes out what the search terms are going through Google, then tests 30 days after. And for the theme of the video, there's an average of an 800% increase in people searching for those topics. That's people self-learning. If you're doing your own evaluation, you cannot buy learning in SPA. You can't look at aisle 3 and go, I need the learning part here. If you are self-learning, applied knowledge becomes subconscious, right? So I'm going to try and play a video. We don't have sound on this area, so I'm going to try and play it through my laptop, and we hope you guys can hear. But this is what you guys are going to be getting in the very near future, and it's going to continue. Real CEO's demo. Steve Jobs had problems, I can have problems.
Gentle breeze blowing, frozen cocktail in hand. Like daiquiris, though, I drink them all. How many daiquiris you can get ready to the rain? Doesn't make me happy. Figure 9 months in Thailand.
2,000 drinks.
So this email I this yeah, it should be in your inbox. I forwarded it to you. Important email from Hunter. Such a mom.
Not really.
Hunter girl from Mexico. Having a great time in Cabo. Beautiful beaches, lots of sun. Never want to leave.
Sounds like a lovely place.
Sounds like my Facebook status. They literally lifted this from my page. I never did a time on a road for vacation.
I like to think I had a hand in that.
Hey, there's only room for one good hand in this village. Not yours.
We'll find one with Charles.
So we focus on two characters there, which are human error and sound judgment. Okay, have anyone of you guys seen these videos? I assume some of you have, some of you haven't. But these are your decision-making powers that come out. These are your devil and angel and your shoulder type things, and those are the guys we continue to characterize as decisions. And characters are important. Okay, if I said to you it's not inside, it's on top, what is it referring to? When last have you seen a Cremora ad in a magazine on TV? It's the best ad I've ever seen in my life because they've never had to do any marketing anymore. One time, bang. If I said vroom vroom, what would that kind of lead you to? Mazda? That's, okay, you're not wrong, but there's another. Who said? You said Cecil. Zoom zoom. Okay, zoom zoom is not vroom vroom. So he said it, not me. Yeah, he said you're wrong. Vroom vroom was the little kid riding the Cecil thing. Then there's one that came out here, which not a lot of people remember, but there was a guy dressed in a gorilla suit playing the drums. Does anyone remember what that was about? No, because it was played predominantly in the UK, but it was a Cadbury's ad, it was the Phil Collins song. Anyway, it doesn't matter, no one ever remembers that one, I just used it. But you will remember it if you see the ad. And the importance of this stuff is characters do make the difference, because as soon as people start seeing these characters constantly, it builds their confidence in that person. That's why Cremora does not advertise anymore. That's why people still buy Ferraris, and the Ferraris don't care anymore. They did this recent study in the US. They put literally, there was a screen this size, they put a red line and a white line. What does red and white make you think of in South Africa's context? The first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, well, maybe it's just me. I think of Vodacom. It's the first thing I think of. In the US, they think of Coca-Cola. They then put red, blue, and yellow. Burger King. They put red and yellow. McDonald's. Guys are just continuously going. Maybe it's because they eat so much fast food. Maybe that's why. But people pay a lot of money on characters and branding and everything because it makes sense moving forward. And it definitely builds that power of that character. That's why we're focusing on these two characters. And that's why when this guy walks around in our Santon Convention Center in the next couple of weeks, guys are taking selfies with him because, hey, you're that guy from those videos our company trains us on. So people want to relate to them. We've got customers who dress up as human error for Halloween parties and offsites. It's crazy, but it happens. So, guys, that's all from me. I hope it was an informative session, and I hope you actually look forward to what Alvina and the team are doing in terms of security awareness. The videos come through. It's not going to take longer than 5 minutes for you guys to complete. It's much shorter and much funnier than what I am, I promise. So give them a look, give them a go, and it gives us most certainly good insights to make sure that we're training you accordingly and not just giving you modules that make no sense. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne. Can we give Dwayne a hand? Thank you, Dwayne. And I need to thank you as the participants for the excellent display that you have prepared. From here now, on Friday, we're launching the Mimecast video in terms of the phishing attacks, and we would like people to participate because it goes into a stats database in terms of how we rate in terms of the education level of people, because remember the imminent dangers that we are facing on a daily basis in terms of people getting hacked, and like Dwayne earlier alluded us in terms of GDPR, we get the POPI Act and those type of things. So now the very first week in May that we had a phishing attack at CPUT, and then because the guy wasn't aware of what is happening and then he clicked, and because he's a senior manager, it now also then spread to the relevant people, his subordinates, and everybody was asking him, sorry boss, what is happening, and then he was also confused.